to the manual reviewer at YouTube. This video will be a breakdown of field stripping for cleaning purposes of the SIG P365. No modifications will be made to the pistol. Hey there folks, how you doing today? Hope all is going well for you. Welcome back to the channel. We're going to do a little bit of EDC maintenance here today. The pistol I have in front of you is my normal everyday carry, my SIG P365. And while I'm a little bit ashamed to show you, I'll go ahead and remove it from the holster there, and hopefully you can see that. There's some significant dust buildup, pocket lint, sawdust, dirt, you name it, on this pistol. As a result, it really needs a thorough cleaning, even though it hasn't been fired much, if any, since the last time I cleaned it. Now this pistol is hot, as I took it out of my pocket for this production. So before we do anything else, with the pistol pointed in a safe direction, we'll go ahead and perform a clearing procedure and remove all of our live ammunition from our workspace. As you can see here, we have a safe and empty weapon. So the takedown lever on the SIG P365 is this lever right here on the side of the frame. In order to take it down, you must rotate the lever down a little over 90 degrees. Then release the slide and it'll come right off. No need to pull the trigger like on a Glock. We'll take our captive recoils. We'll take our captive recoil spring assembly out, lift our barrel out, set our slide aside, and we'll start cleaning on the frame. Now while there's not much, if any, visible powder residue inside the frame, it is very, very dusty. So I'll take a simple nylon brush. I like to use a nylon brush on these plastic frames because the brass brushes tend to scratch them all up. And while I don't normally care about scratches on my weapons, I'm not going to do something to just tear them up for the sake of it. So nylon brush on plastic parts, brass brush on other parts if warranted. In this case, I think we're going to do the whole cleaning assembly with this nylon brush. Now you'll notice here there's some significant gouging on the side of the frame. That's just use. That's just wear and tear. Before I put the frame aside for good, I'm going to take this paper towel here that has some top secret proprietary cleaning solvent on it. You can engineer your own cleaning solvent, or you can just use rubbing alcohol just to kind of wipe down the plasticky parts and get oil residue and sweat residue, what have you, off of them. I wouldn't worry too much about rubbing alcohol on the metal parts. It's not going to hurt anything. But it will help to remove some of that stuff that the brush left behind. Through the magic of video editing, you would never know that a day has come and gone since we cleaned the frame, moving on to the slide. Let me see if I can get this in the video here. I will show you a couple of close-up pictures in case this doesn't come out. If you look right here, there's a little tab. That tab needs to be pushed in towards the striker channel and pushed down towards the firing pin hole, and that will allow you to push the rear plate cover off of off of the rear of the slide. Keep your finger over the end so that parts don't go flying out. Now with that removed, we can start to pull the striker assembly, but you'll notice when you get it about halfway out that it starts hanging up on the firing pin stop. So push that down and you can remove it the rest of the way. Before you do anything else, this little part right here is on a spring and it's easy to lose. So carefully turn your slide over while holding on to it and pull it out, and you'll see there it comes out with the spring, which sits inside that little channel on the back of it. So we're going to set that aside as well. With the striker and the striker block removed, I'm going to use my flashlight to inspect the hole, which doesn't look too bad, but I do see some buildup down in there. Utilizing a pipe cleaner, and a little bit of Hoppy's number 9. Now I've mentioned this before, I'll mention it again for you single fellas out there that are having trouble finding a lady. Get you a little bit of this Hoppy's number 9 and rub it behind your ear, and then go to the local farmer's market. You'll be married by the time you get home. Alright, so I'm just kind of swirling that Hoppy's around inside the channel. And you'll notice, while it's not real dirty, you'll see some buildup there on the pipe cleaner. Let me take another quick look down in there. And for the most part, it looks like we got most of it out. We'll turn this thing around and use the dry side of it to kind of mop up the excess Hoppy's out of there. Set that aside so it doesn't get on everything. Now I use the pipe cleaner to do that, but you can also use a Q-tip. We're actually going to use a Q-tip right now to reach in there and mop out and see what comes out left over from our Hoppy's treatment. You'll see that Q-tip just isn't too bad. It's got very little residue on it. I'll take another dry Q-tip with 1 drop of rim oil on it. I'm going to work that into the Q-tip. And the only reason I'm doing this, I'm not lubricating the striker channel. Rather, I'm just trying to remove that Hoppy's solvent residue from the inside. You don't want to put a bunch of oil in your striker channel. And I've done this many times before, and I haven't had any issues with doing it. I'm sure there's somebody else out there that has a better way to build that mousetrap. All right, that looks pretty good. Before we put the striker back in there, we'll go ahead and we'll clean our slide rails, which more or less just kind of need to be wiped down to get the gunk out of them. The pistol was unfired since last time it was cleaned. It just had a lot of pocket lint inside of it. That looks pretty good. Moving on to our striker assembly. I am thoroughly impressed with the overall cleanliness of this striker assembly. Looking back to the Taurus GX4 video that we did, our striker assembly on that pistol had a lot of gunk in it, and this one just isn't too bad. See, very little residue. For those of you concerned with the manner of taking the striker assembly apart, let me show you that right now. What you can do is, using the little slot in the back of your slide, catch the little tab on the back of the striker and stand it upright like so. And that will hold your striker still while you pull the striker spring back, which allows you to remove the split collar. You'll notice here on the back end of the striker is another small spring. We're going to carefully slide that off and set it aside. There's a lot of gunk down inside our striker. I'm going to get some of this Hoppe's number 9 on a rag, and I'm going to saturate down in the body of that striker to remove some of that buildup. And you don't really need any lubrication down inside the striker assembly. So I recommend that you utilize some type of high pressure aerosol gun cleaner, like gun scrubber or something of that nature, to spray out all the little crevices on this. Whatever you do, do not utilize non-chlorinated brake parts cleaner like I do, because it's not made for it. We got that striker wiped down. We'll take our Q-tip and clean out the striker sleeve assembly. Now this is a chintzy plastic part, but it seems to be in good repair without any obvious signs of excess wear. Those Q-tips were actually made for gun cleaning. They came out of a gun cleaning kit, or they were marketed for gun cleaning. I don't know if they were made for it, but they leave a lot of lint behind, so they're probably not the best ones. We have this little lock ring that holds everything together. We got to clean it out as well. Now on a Glock or on the Taurus, this little retainer is 2 separate pieces. On the SIG, it's 1 piece with a groove cut in it. I'll try to get it up close so you can see that. And I think it's a superior design. Whether or not it actually is, I don't know, but it seems to be. Let's wipe off that little spring. Now you put your rebound spring back on the bottom end of that. Put your striker sleeve back over, and that gives you that little bit of rebound right there that pulls the firing pin back. See that? Then this spring, which appears to be the same on both ends, I looked at that before I took it apart. Some of these springs have like a double ring at one end, and it's important to remember the direction you put them back on. Something else that I have found useful for reassembly is take something like this cleaning rod here that will fit against the base of the striker. And you can utilize that to keep the striker pushed forward in the sleeve for the reassembly process. Use it, I just press it against my chest for a second there. Make the Pillsbury Doughboy sound. And you slide your retainer back on, and presto, voila, everything's put back together. Go ahead and wipe down our striker block and the spring with our oily rag. They seem to be fairly clean. So now we'll reinstall that striker block before we put our striker back in the pistol. I'm going to hold it here on its side with the spring facing up. I'm just going to roll the slide back over it. And depress it as far as I can. Now you'll remember there was a little bit of rim oil inside of that from when I wiped it out. There's no obvious lubrication. There's nothing dripping, nothing inside there. And the striker assembly is dry. That's how I do it. I don't have any problems doing it that way. Your mileage may vary. Less is more when it comes to lubricating the insides of these things. What I find works easiest is take the little striker plate cover and put it over the end of your striker sleeve. Press the block down, push your tab over with a sharp tool, and use the plate cover to recess the mess into the slot, and then it'll snap back together. You'll see there, make sure that your tab is back out of the way. Everything is locked into place. Striker's under proper pressure. Your striker block appears to be working properly. Check the inside of the barrel for lint. There appears to be a little bit of lint, so we're going to run a dry brush through there a time or two. Now this pistol was not fired since the last time it was cleaned, so we're going to stop with that. Brush off the cracks and crevices on the outside a little bit to get any dirt residue off of it. I'm going to wipe it down with a rag with just a couple of drops of oil on it. Now I do use CLP to do this quite frequently, and I get a lot of hate mail for that from purists. But everything that I've done with rim oil and Hoppy's No. 9 can just as easily be achieved with cleanse oil. And I think it's probably a suitable product for most applications. It might harm some finishes, so just be aware of that. We're going to utilize this little brush to brush some of the dust out of our dovetails for our sights. The rest of this frame looks fine. We'll put our barrel back in. Wipe down our recoil spring assembly to remove any excess pocket lint. Reinstall it in the front of the pistol, like such. Take our frame, put 1 drop of oil, that was a little more than 1 drop, on either side of the frame rails there, kind of rub it in a little bit. Work our slide back and forth. In this case, the takedown lever rotated itself back up. Sometimes you have to coax it along. It only takes about 3 or 4 drops of oil to fully lubricate one of these things, and you can over lubricate them. So don't get crazy with your lubrication. As a matter of fact, I'm going to sop up that little bit of extra oil that is on the inside of the frame rails there, simply because I don't want it finding its way back inside that striker assembly that we just cleaned. So now that we have our pistol reassembled, take a quick look there, check it once, check it twice. Safe and empty weapon. Drop the slide, point it in a safe direction, pull the trigger, do not release the trigger. With the trigger pulled back, cycle the slide, let the trigger go to the audible reset, pull it again, and our function check is complete. This is certainly not the only way to take one of these down and clean it. I'm sure it's probably not the best way, but if you were trying to figure out how to do it, you saw there in the last few minutes that it's easily achieved with a couple of very basic tools. I recommend you have a flashlight to look in the nooks and crannies. Just take your time, be patient with it, and you can get it done. So I'm going to wrap this up for now. If you found this helpful at all, I ask you to like and subscribe down below. Hit the notification bell for upcoming videos. And as always, take care. God bless.